Well, thank you so much for joining us here on the Book of Love podcast, Max. How are you?
I'm good, thanks. Thanks for having me.
How are things in Montreal right now?
Um, yeah, not that great. We're in full lockdown, so yeah, I wish we could go out and do more stuff, especially in the dating space.
Yeah.
Right now it's impossible, so just staying home, staying safe. It's going well.
Good. Well, thank you so much for joining us. And you know what? I always ask this question. I think it's a great way to launch into an introduction with somebody.
Hmm.
So, how about, you are developing an amazing app, and we're going to get into exactly what that is and how it works. But
Sure.
prior to jumping into all of that, tell me a little bit about your mindset on what you think is the biggest challenge in today's dating world.
Wow. I have to pick just one.
Pick several. You're welcome to just go.
Okay, I think the biggest issue right now is the amount of solicitation. So, and when I mean the amount of solicitation, I mean on both sides. So if I take the example of Pill, right now we're doing mainly heterosexual and gay relationships. We're not doing trans and stuff like this. Not that we're against it, not at all. We want to do it in the future, but we're not understanding it enough, I think, for now. So
Mhm.
we've basically made the choice for now to just do what we understand, which is basically the gay community and heterosexual community. So
Mhm.
to talk about this specifically, I think both sides are a bit the same in the sense that, for example, if you take a normal heterosexual relationship, like girls get a lot of solicitation on these apps, generally
Oh,
speaking, while most guys don't. That's generally speaking. And that's something I kind of experienced on kind of both sides, essentially. And I feel the main issue is just there's no balance. It's either you're deemed very, very hot if you consider Tinder, for example. Tinder is all on physical appearance. We'll get to talk a bit more about this. It's what we're trying not to do on Peel, essentially.
yeah.
But I feel most current apps are a lot on physical appearance and do 95% on that. Tinder is a prime example for this. And essentially, if you're deemed beautiful by most of the population, where essentially you just tick boxes, you'll get tons of matches. You'll never speak to them because you just don't have time for it, and then you'll never go on dates. Or the dates you'll go to will be miserable because you're attracted to this person, she or he is attracted to you, but that's it, and you don't really have anything in common. Whereas on the other side of the spectrum is if you're not deemed hot or you're not hot enough, if it makes sense, you'd have a successful dating life in real life if you were meeting real people, I think, because you'd be able to show your personality and everything we want to show to others. Whereas on dating apps, you just can't. It's just your profile pictures. So if people don't like them, you just get no matches. And I feel it's the biggest issue because people get essentially their confidence crushed because they feel like, oh yeah, I'm ugly because I'm not getting matches, where like my hot friend is getting matches. I've seen this in my group of friends. It's terrible to see. Like, your friend has chances and he's basically telling you, I get no matches. It's terrible. I can't do anything about myself. And it's just, I hate this. I really hate this. I feel for me right now, this is the biggest issue with dating apps.
So superficial, just looks based. And it's
Yeah.
interesting because I was reading some studies on that, and they're saying that 80% of the women go after only 20% of the men. And a lot of the time it is attraction,
Yeah.
social economic level, and all of those more superficial reasons. And that is what's keeping a lot of our population, especially the
Mm,
population of women, single, is they are
yeah.
going after a tiny percentage of men.
Yeah. Yeah.
When
Yeah.
there's 80% of amazing men that would be amazing life partners, but they're just not exactly what they're superficially looking for.
Yeah. Yeah. I feel the same. It's kind of what brought us to create Peel as well. But like, I don't think it's also the fault of women. It's not just saying like, oh yeah, women should reach for other people. And we always say like, oh, they like bad guys, they should go for the nicer ones. I don't think it works this way. I think it's just the way the apps have been built is they basically benefit from it. Because if 20% of the guys, if we just take this example, if 20% of the guys are getting matches, it means that the 80% left are not getting that many matches, probably none. These guys will pay for it. Like the guys who get matches won't have to pay for the app, but that's only 20% of the users. It's fine having these users using the app for free because they basically make the app useful for the rest of the women. Whereas the 80% left who get no matches and get frustrated will pay. And
Yeah.
Tinder, for example, even the rest, to be honest, are very, very good at this and they make millions off of it.
Oh yeah, it's a huge, huge industry, and good for you
Yeah.
for getting into it. Like, brilliant. So, tell us a little bit about Peel Dating. What inspired you to
Sure.
create this app and use this format in particular that you're going to talk about? Everybody, listen up! It's so exciting. I 100% agree with it. When I found him on Instagram, I'm like, this is my kind of app because this is how I teach people to date using the other dating apps. It's so cool that your app is doing exactly that.
Yeah. Okay, cool. So I'll give you a little bit of a background. So I founded this app with my best friend who's now living with me. And we've both been on dating apps on and off, essentially. We've used them not in the best way. I never really looked, like in the past, I never looked for something serious on dating apps, to be completely honest with you. And I never really put any effort in my profile. I thought it was just, for me, the image of dating apps was just kind of this weird Instagram where people tell you if you're hot or not. And that's literally how I treated it, which is very bad, very, very bad. And so my profile was kind of terrible. My friend had the same terrible profile, terrible photos, not really showing anything, like some photos with your friends, but nothing impressive or like nothing that would really make someone want to get to know you. It's literally just trying to show off. And so the experience I had on apps wasn't great. Like I never met someone who I felt close with on dating apps. I had some dates, but it was terrible because I was attracted. So I'm heterosexual, so I was attracted to girls. I found them attractive when I would meet them in real life, but that's it. And conversations would just go stale after like 5 minutes, literally. Because if you don't have anything to talk about, or if you realize after 2 minutes that you have nothing in common, there's no point in having a date. Like even if that's the most wonderful person on earth, if she's not for you, then it's not going to work.
Mhm.
And so for me, like dating apps were a thing on the side. Never really thought about it. And then the guy I'm doing the app with essentially built one, just for fun. And originally, I just wanted to do something different. He was like, "Yeah, everything you hear about dating apps is basically saying we want to be different." It's what he wanted to do. He wanted to do something where you don't just think about the physical appearance, and you kind of force people to talk to each other before they actually get to meet each other. So what he did is that originally you couldn't see the picture of the person, and the more you would speak with her or him, the more you would see it. So it would basically unblur. Um,
Oh,
it was cool. I think there was like we talked about it, and we both think there was loads of issues with it. But like his experience with it was great, and he had loads of users at the start. I think he had like 400 registration on the first 2 days, which is great. And
wow.
he added some matches, added some people that started talking, and he really liked the experience of saying maybe I'm creating some couples. He unfortunately had to stop it for some legal reason. Essentially, he had the name that was too close from something that was existing.
Okay.
But yeah, but for him, essentially, I feel it gave him the idea of saying, all right, maybe dating apps suck, but maybe I can do something about it. And he talked to me about it, and I thought it was really interesting. But at the same time, I still had my opinion of saying, I think dating apps suck. They're just not made for people, and they either crush your confidence or, in my own experience, I was getting dates and I didn't feel not hot, if it makes sense. I didn't feel like, oh yeah, I'm ugly, I'm not getting matches. I was getting a few matches, but the dates I would go on would be terrible. And I felt not that I was ugly, but there was no one for me, literally. I was like, I must be an outcast, you know? And it really crushed my confidence. So I kind of stayed away from it. And then we started actually talking about ideas we wanted to build for companies. And the dating app came back. Essentially, we just said, yeah, I mean, I was kind of against it, but at the same time, I wanted to do something at the time. I just wanted to build something, to be honest. And then we started talking about the idea and saying what we didn't like about the dating apps. And I think both our opinions were that online is getting bigger and bigger. Internet has become basically an enormous part of the world, obviously. And at the same time, people meet online more and more, whether it's for friends, whether it's even staying close with your family. It's just messaging is just a daily thing. And I feel, and we both felt at the time, that basically dating was just not up to date. Messaging is amazing right now. Like you can literally, I live here, for example, and my family is in Europe. I stay connected with them. Like I get messages every week, can get emails. We can even have video calls like we're having right now. It's great. Like in the sense, it just makes you feel closer to the people you love.
Yeah.
And then I would compare this to dating, and it's completely different. It's just,
Yeah.
I went from this kind of human approach, whereas when you speak with someone, when I speak with a member of my family, obviously I know them in real life, but still, I feel like messaging is great and it makes me feel good things. Like it makes me smile. I love seeing them in camera. And then you go with exactly the same tool, like messaging or video calls, but you go into dating and it feels way different. because you don't know these people and you don't feel like you have the right tool to get to know them.
And not only
So
that you don't know them, but you have huge expectations as well
I
when you
agree.
start talking to them, which is always leading
Yeah.
to disappointment.
Yeah, exactly. Also because we have this Instagram phenomenon, as I call it, whereas we want our profiles to be the best possible. Obviously, we want to put ourselves in good shape and show that we're fit, show that like we're good looking. But at the same time, you don't look like this in real life. Like your photos will be better than what you actually look like in real life, and that's fine. Photos are meant to make you look beautiful. But then people have this crazy expectation that what they see, for example, on Instagram or on the profile is how you are 24/7 and how you are basically the entire year. Like for a girl to be always having makeup that's perfect, I don't know, to be always in like the perfect shape possible and all these things, which is just unrealistic and just doesn't exist. Yeah. So, sorry, go for it.
No, I was just like, yeah, you're bringing up a lot of stuff that when you get so deep into it in regards to the dating world, you get deep into the online dating, and I'm sure you know this by, working on a dating platform. When you hear somebody else talk about experiences with online dating and what they think the missing piece is, it's really enlightening because, what I hear and what I say and then what you're saying, they coincide, but it's just different verbiage. So I think it's
So
really
what do you
cool.
hear?
The expectations that I was thinking, which was really interesting, was more like people projecting what they're wanting out of this interaction on that person.
All right. Gotcha.
And on that interaction. But what you were saying in regards to expectation, which is really cool, and I never thought about, was, you are seeing this profile, you're seeing these pictures, you're seeing this person in the best version of themselves. And so the expectations you have on how the outcome of the date is going to be based on what you put together in your mind as to who that human is prior to meeting them is going to disappoint you big time.
Yeah.
Or the profile is underwhelming and you're going to be blown out of the water, but you're probably not going to be going on a date with them anyhow because the profile is underwhelming. Right?
Yeah, that's true. So maybe there's a
Speaking of
strategy there
which-
to have a profile that's slightly worse than what you are and then hoping to get a date. And then on the
No,
date, you know
I
that
don't
you'll
agree.
be better. No? Okay. Well, you're the coach, I'm not.
But why? Okay, so we're gonna come back to talking about this, but I did want to reflect back and circle back and talk about, I find that men really don't put much effort into their profile online dating. And you had said that when you were online dating that you didn't put any effort into it. So what is the mindset when you kind of just throw a profile together as a man that makes you not want to put that kind of effort into it?
So I can't speak for everyone, but I can speak for my friends and I. To be honest, I think it's the same with females. So now I have a better perspective of everything that I've obviously, and we've spoken with like a lot of people. We didn't want our opinion only. We wanted the opinion of a lot of people, and that includes other persons like gay people, as I said, but also female. And essentially, I think the approach is the same as most women. Is essentially you get on the app because you heard about it from a friend, and you have a few of your friends that are on it. At first, for me, I would have been, I think, too ashamed to be on a dating app, to be honest. But my friends talked to me about it. I'm pretty shy, like in real life. Normally, I'm not an extrovert, so for me to put myself out there and to put myself on the dating app, saying like, "Hey, can you like me?" That was impossible for me. But my friends were all on it, and they were all saying, "Yeah, I met this girl and she was cool, so you should try it." And at some point, essentially, I just said, "All right, I'll try it." But I didn't try it thinking I'm going to put a profile that will actually put me out there the way I want to. I put myself the way I imagine girls wanted me to. So essentially, I put a profile that was meant to show off. And I feel, and now after talking with a lot of guys, it's what we all do, essentially. We all think, oh yeah, you got to show your muscles. Oh, you got to show that you're tall. Oh, you got to show that you're in shape. Oh, you got to show, like all these things that, yeah, of course, it's great. Like, of course, physical appearance is very important and someone has to be attracted to you. The thing is like most profiles from guys are here to show off and girls hate it. And we think that they don't. We think that they love it. Like a guy being shirtless and showing abs. You have abs, it's perfect. She will love it, but she will love it for herself. She won't love the fact that you show it off to everyone.
It's interesting that you say that because I have a lot of clients come in, and when they come in, I do profile audits and I help them build their profile. And men build their profile for women, but they're building it as if it's for another man. And women do the same thing. Do you know what I mean? Like
Yeah.
men build profiles based on what they think women are attracted to. Women do the same thing. It's like when women are, there's a couple of things that I've seen on women profiles where I'm like, that's just gonna make the guys run for the hills. And they're like, well, it makes me cool, it makes me fun. I'm like, it makes a girl want to be your best friend, yes. But guys don't really care about that kind of stuff. So it's interesting that you say that. It's so true.
So
we have to think about the target audience when marketing ourselves.
Yeah, exactly. And so in my opinion, in my case, it was totally that. And so I didn't really care on Tinder. I was on Tinder. That was basically the first app I used because that's the only one I knew. And that's the one my friend were using. And also none of my friends had a bio, literally none of them. Like they all didn't care about it. And they all thought, yeah, no one reads it. So I just didn't have a bio. So imagine my profile being maybe 4 photos, like terrible photos, terrible quality. Just me, never, I think I had 1 photo with a friend and that was probably me shirtless at the festival. Not great. And no bio. And that was my profile. And that was me thinking, yeah, girls will want me with that.
Oh my God, Max, shame.
Yeah, I know. Now I do a dating app.
Okay, yeah. Okay, well, let's get into that. Tell us a little bit about Peel Dating and what it is and what your vision is for it.
Okay, cool. So if we just continue, I'll just continue with the background just so it makes sense. Because it's gonna be weird me talking about basically having a fuckboy profile on Tinder and then going to making an app for serious relationships. Essentially, I had I had this switch where at some point when I aged a little bit, I'm still very, very young, obviously, 26, but I think around 22, 23, I realized that I didn't want to be fuckboy, essentially. And that what made me happy in my life was being in a relationship and not being single and trying to date here and there, essentially. And that's where I went on Tinder for the first time, hoping that I would get a serious relationship. It makes me laugh right now, but at the time I really believed it. And that's where I actually put effort in my profile because I realized, okay, the matches I'm getting are not quite the ones I would want. The girls are super superficial. They didn't care about the conversations, and the date I would have would be with girls where literally I just had a good opener. They laughed and they gave me their number. That's it. So I thought, all right, cool. It's been terrible so far, but I knew a few friends that basically met their girlfriend on the app. So I thought it can work. Like their girlfriends are great. I like them. They're my friends. So like I would love to meet a girl like this essentially. So I thought maybe it can happen to me as well. So I put a lot more effort. I put some better pictures, asked a friend who's basically a photographer to take some good pictures of me, and then just put it out there. And then in my bio, I wrote a few things about me being a developer, basically the most boring stuff you can think of, but what we all do, where essentially we just put a CV in our bio. Like I do this in my life. I come from there. I've traveled there anyway. Basic stuff. And that's where I started actually dating. And I also spent more time on it, where before I would probably spend like 20 minutes a day. And then at this point, I started spending like a good hour, maybe sometimes 2 hours on it. And it became kind of time consuming. And also I realized that I still didn't get what I wanted, which was basically matches with people that mattered to me in a sense where I felt I could feel close to them. And that's really when I started thinking, okay, maybe I'm really an outcast, because I saw my friends being in couple with people they met on Tinder. And then I realized, okay, none of the girls I've met, I went on dates, but none of the girls I met were basically made for me. And none of them just corresponded to what I wanted. So that's where I felt, all right, yeah, maybe there's something wrong with me, you know? But literally right when I was starting to think that, I basically met my ex and I got in couple with her and it went great. We stayed together for 1.5 years and that was basically the best relationship I had. And after that, I thought, okay, maybe I'm not so much of an outcast when we broke up, because I met someone who was great for me and I know I can meet someone who's also good for me. But I also thought there must be other people that feel that. And there must be other cases like this. And actually, when I talked with my friends around me, they all confessed the same thing. Like the guys told me the same, saying, if you want one night stands, it can work, but that's it. And they felt very empty about it, just didn't enjoy it. And also, most of them, either they didn't put any effort in their profile or they did like me and realized that they still were not getting what they wanted. Either they were getting no matches or the matches they would get just made no sense. So the idea went on and on and on. And essentially the pandemic of this year just kickstarted us starting the project. We basically realized that being completely locked down, no one had any other opportunity to meet people. And the only way to meet people is basically through dating apps. So we searched a little bit, we realized that Hinge is pretty big here in Canada. few other things like Tinder is also massive, obviously, but Bumble, all the apps are basically doing very, very great because people realize, okay, I can't meet anyone, so why not try it online? So again, we tried it. This time I did the profile on Hinge. I said like Tinder, okay, it doesn't work. I don't think it's made for serious relationships. Now I'm convinced by it. By the time it was basically my discovery. And so my co-founder and I basically tried Hinge, and Hinge was much, much better already.
Oh yeah.
I shouldn't say this because they're technically a concurrent, but like they were already much, much better than Tinder. And I really liked the experience a lot more. I felt it was a bit more human. I felt there was less of a just physical appearance thing, where you could have the prompts and you could show yourself a bit more. And the conversations I would have with the girls were actually more interesting. And that's where I really started to think, oh man, maybe there's something there. But I still didn't feel like Hinge was quite covering it in the way that I had a few dates and the dates didn't went that well, whereas I would have expected them to be great. And I think we're probably going to fall into what you were saying earlier about the expectations, is that through messages, I felt these girls were perfect. Like I felt they were great. We talked about only the stuff that the other one wanted to hear, essentially. I love traveling like everyone does. And so we would only talk about the travels, and most people nowadays have traveled a little bit. So they always have something to talk about in terms of travel. And so you hear travel stories and I love hearing them. So I thought, wow, she's so great. Like she's going to be perfect. And then we would meet in real life and I would be deceived. And I felt they were thinking the same thing about me. And I felt, all right, that's weird, you know? And it did the same thing that it did before with Tinder, where I felt maybe I am an outcast again. Like maybe even these great persons are actually not made for me because I don't know, there must be something wrong with me. But then I realized that it just wasn't this. It probably was the way the app was built. It's not to say like I'm perfect and it's the app the problem, I'm not the problem. It's more saying I felt I didn't have the tool to meet people that mattered. Because around me, when I meet friends of friends, and that's how I met most of my exes essentially, I felt I had my chances and I felt I was able to showcase my personality. I was able to see if I really like someone in terms of personality. And you feel that click in like 5 minutes and you feel, okay, I want to see more of that person and I want to get to know her better. Whereas on dating apps, I just didn't get that at all, ever. I just had a profile that was kind of interesting, but I didn't feel like, okay, I want to actually spend time getting to know this person. And so that's where the idea of building the app came in. We were essentially just on lockdown, two guys in a flat, both single, hating dating apps, but still thinking there was something to do with it because I still felt there was, and I still do now. I'm still not satisfied with feel like I love the way we're going, but I still feel we can improve a lot more, which is what we're doing basically. We're still in this phase of finding ourselves. I think we have a great concept. I still think, to be honest with you, we're not 100% where we want to be. And so at the time, it was just exciting to experiment and say, okay, let's try something completely different. And so I'll get into more what pill is, but essentially this different, we're saying, okay, we know physical appearance is still important. It's still part of dating, so we're not going to ignore it. But at the same time, we don't want it to be everything. So we're going to make the profiles a bit more interesting. We didn't have like just prompt. We also wanted things that people have in common. So we added what we call personality traits. So for example, when you create your profile, you have the choice between 10 categories and you need to give at least 5. So fill up at least 5. And in these categories, you have arts, your work, if you just want to talk about this, but like partying, travel, basic topics, but we all basically fall into and we all like to talk about generally. And you just pick the stuff that makes sense to you and that you want to not expose, but like put on your profile and that you want people to see. And so the idea was making your profile that's a bit more unique, showing yourself a bit more and making sure that, yeah, of course, you need to like their physical appearance, but it's not what's going to make you want a relationship with them. It's actually liking their personality that will make you want to know them more and actually down the line find them actually very, very attractive and think, oh, this person is gorgeous and she's really, or he's really made for me. That was the original idea. We've got this, that's our main thing. And the second main thing is reducing the amount of solicitation. I talked a little bit about it. Sorry. And
this
essentially,
is my favorite part. This is my favorite part. The limiting of it. I love this. Yeah.
And essentially, so the phenomenon we saw on Tinder, even on our end, even as guys, you don't get that many matches if you're average looking, essentially. And even with that, I would get into like 10, 15 matches after like 3 weeks. That's an enormous amount. And Tinder makes you believe that it's nothing. Why? Because I have a friend who was a model and would get literally 100 likes a month. And that's nothing. Like there's
You're
literally
right, because
people that get,
everybody has that friend that gets like 100, and when you only get 10, you're like, what? That's not a
yeah,
lot, but it's a lot.
yeah, exactly. Yeah, yeah. Even this, like, even I felt like I never spoke with these 15 people, essentially. Even if I found them attractive, physically speaking, like I still didn't feel like talking with them. Why? Because you'd have to talk about your life over and over and over. And it's the
Same
same
story.
thing.
Hmm.
Yeah. And it becomes kind of a pitch you have, essentially pitching your own life and saying, oh yeah, I've traveled there and I do this and I like this. And it just becomes this repetitive thing. And it's just awful. So that's what we wanted to reduce. And to do this, we've basically reduced the amount of people you see per day. So we no longer have a feed. We used to, but we no longer have like, the system of feed where essentially you can just go through profiles and never make a decision. What we do is actually, we only show you a few profiles a day, up to 4 or 5 essentially, and for a limited time. So essentially when you see your profile, you only have 6 hours to give them either to say like, I like this person or I don't. And when you do like this person, it's not just saying, okay, I swipe, like it's cool, I like the way you look. No, you actually have to make an effort and you have to react about something on their profile. So either a photo, if it's something you just like, or one of their, what we call personality traits. So for example, if you match with someone because you have photography in common, or in your case, for example, podcasts, we do have this. Essentially, you could say, oh yeah, I'm working on this awesome podcast, I love it. This person could just love this too, because either he's doing a podcast or she's doing a podcast, and they basically could just react to it and say, oh wow, that's awesome, like where can I hear it, or how could I have a look? And this thing for us is the main point of Peel, is just trying to connect people on things that matter, if it makes sense, and not just the
Mhm.
physical attraction. So that's the second thing, as I said, reducing solicitation. And in this sense, we also reduce the amount of people you can be matched with. So you'll match, we do the matches essentially with the algorithm, and then you decide if you're attracted to this person by showing your interest. If this person accepts, then you can start a chat, but you can only have 2 chats at the same time. So it's not like all apps essentially where you can have an infinite amount of matches and chats and where you just never talk to anyone. It's actually, you can only have 2 people max. So this way, you know that if you speak with someone, they only speak with another person maximum. And at the same time, they'll have time to essentially talk with you, and you won't have the feeling that you're repeating yourself over and over and over, because you only have 2 conversations. So at worst, you'll have twice the same conversation. But hopefully, because you have things in common and because the profiles are a bit more complete, you should find things that make the conversation unique and doesn't feel like you just put your CV out there and see if he or she likes it.
You know what I love about what this does is, I think one of the biggest problems with using online dating apps is the binge and the purge that a lot of people do,
Yeah.
where they will jump online, they'll throw a profile together, just random pictures, just so they can get to their matches as quickly as possible. And then in one night, they swipe past like 300 people,
Yeah.
which makes them superficial no matter how amazing they are normally. That just automatically makes them superficial. And so, and then they have too much choice as well, because they'll swipe on people, but they actually won't get matches until
Yeah.
2, 3, 4 days later. And then before they know it, they have far too many to ever be able to deal with, which is how those apps are set up when you first launch. What I love about this is it turns it into a daily habit, which for
Yeah.
anybody is the foundation of success. It's not binging. Like, you don't go to the gym and you're like, okay, I'm going to lose weight, so I'm going to go to the gym and be on the treadmill for 17 hours straight and I'm going to be fit. It's daily habits to create success. So your app is basically forcing people into a successful swiping habit.
Yeah, that's the idea. That's what we're trying to create essentially. I like the way you put it. That's a very, very good metaphor with the gym. But yeah, that's the idea. The reason we also want it to be a daily habit, and as you said, to do a little bit per day, is because, as I said before, I realized that on Tinder I would spend hours because it's easy to just swipe through profiles, and as you said, to be superficial and just be like, nah, yes, nah, nah, yes. We'd rather have it where we basically send a notification when you receive a match. We have, I think it's 90% of our users that enable push notifications, so you can be almost sure that they'll see it essentially. And the idea is that you receive this push notification, you have a look at the profile, and that's it. Like it will take you maybe in total, if you see 4 or 5 profiles a day, maybe 20 minutes in your day, and that's it. And then if you have a chat with someone and you want to talk with them, feel free to, of course, do it as much as you want. We don't limit that. And again, once the pandemic is over, meet them in real life. We try to push people, or at least we will in the future, to actually meet in real life. But yeah, that's the idea. We don't want them to be hung up on the app, and even from not trying to play it as, oh yeah, we want the app to be so healthy and we're not caring about business. We do. We're still a business. I'm not gonna lie. Our goal down the line is obviously to make money out of it. But the business model that we want to build, I believe, can still work with that. And actually, I think it will work even better if people are used to having this small daily habit that takes them maybe 20 minutes a day, rather than just being hung up on the app for like 3 hours.
Yeah, I agree. I mean, it's the same reason that people come to a matchmaker. They don't have time to invest the hour, 2 hours, right? So when you are already having something set up that, and plus it'll just be something that the people that have never gone onto the dating apps because they have heard the horror stories, that structure is just much more approachable, because we all know that overwhelm when you jump online and you're like new meat and the overwhelm. You're also eliminating that as well, this floodgate of people, you know? And when you only have 2 matches, you're going to be more selective on compatibility when you see a profile, because you have to be selective because you can only talk to 2 people. So you have to make sure that there is a lot of connection there before connecting.
So you've raised a very good point here about the selectiveness. It's something we need to work on. Essentially, at the moment, we realize our users are a bit too picky, not in terms of physical attributes. So we speak with our users all the time. Essentially, we try to speak with them as much as possible to, as I said, we're still in the phase where we're a small app. We're trying to make it as big as possible. But before we go in the phase of heavy marketing and investing a lot of money in marketing and making it scale to the moon and having as many users as possible, we want the concept to work, and obviously to have a solution that works, because otherwise we're just going to go in the wall. And so to do that at the moment, we're just focusing. We have, I think it's 2,000 active users to date. I think it was, I think something like this. Not even sure. But essentially, it's a small amount. But the goal is that we get used with these people. We get these people are used to the app, and we hear from them, and we get their feedback constantly, and we try to understand what works and what doesn't. And so you raised a very good point about it. We realized that people are very, very picky. So in terms of physical appearance, we can nail this. It's very hard, obviously, to say this person is going to like the physical appearance of this person. But we've realized that when we match them by what they like, so essentially their personality traits, they still give it a chance. Like they'll still, even we've had feedbacks basically mainly from female people basically saying, okay, he wasn't physically, like I didn't find him super, super attractive, but his profile was very well and he actually put effort into it. And I generally don't see this. That's the feedback we've had a lot, where essentially people, and especially female, said like, yeah, generally guys don't put efforts in profiles, and on yours they actually do. So I gave him a chance and it was actually interesting.
Yeah. But
But at the same time, you raised a very good point in saying they will also sometimes look for like all the similarities they can find. And it's something we really need to work on. At the moment, we're trying to find as many similarities as possible. But the truth is, when you match with someone in real life, I mean, when you basically click with someone, you don't especially share everything, and you don't want to. Like, you share maybe a few things. Obviously, you'll have things in common, but you don't want this person to be a replica of you, of yourself.
Yeah.
And at the moment, I feel it's what we're lacking. It's not terrible to the point where it doesn't work. It's actually quite cool. Like, I really like it. I think so far the match is also quite relevant, which is very, very good. But it's still something we want to improve on and make it so people are not so picky and looking for a replica of themselves, but looking for someone that'll have just a few things in common and then try to explore more.
That's an interesting point, because a lot of people are looking for like a carbon copy of themselves, and they think that that is compatibility. And as a matchmaker, yes, having similar interests are important. But when I'm matching people, it is more so on complementary personalities, thoughts on religion, politics, all of those big things, to make sure that they're on track with that. But mostly the non-similarities is what makes relationships and getting to know somebody so interesting. Other people's taste in music, learning new songs, or interest in podcasts, or interest in real estate, or whatever it is. When you learn something new from somebody, that's the beautiful part. It's not, like you said, being identical people.
Yeah, definitely. No, I agree with you. It's something, it's again, you as a coach and as a matchmaker is basically something you're very used to. You have experience in it and it's great. Replicating this into a robot is extremely hard. Like doing an algorithm that takes this in consideration is, at the moment, literally no one does it. And that's very easy. It's because no one knows how to do it. It's really, really hard, first off, from a profile to get the personality of someone. Even with our personality traits, what we get is hobbies mainly and passions. So like at the moment, we know the interest of our users, and it's already a great information to have compared to what other apps have, for example. And it's something we can already work on to match people. We basically, our algorithm, sorry, is like 80% that essentially. It's just finding interest where people match on things and saying, okay, if this person likes this, she'll probably like this, or he'll like this. But it's extremely complicated to do something where you can detect the personality of someone just from a profile they filled up, and then think, okay, cool, they will like this profile because it's a matching personality. And it's something I want to keep improving on and keep basically building, but it's something that's going to take a long time.
Well, I mean, if anybody's figured it out, they'd be a billionaire right now. So clearly nobody has. If we could write the formula for chemistry, we would, and we'd be on the beaches, not doing this. Okay, so I'm just kidding. We'd probably still be doing this, but
that's still a good though.
What's your vision for the app in the future? What I love that you're saying is like you are, and this is the hardest part, as like I'm sure, I don't know if it's hard for you, but getting that feedback and then making the adjustment, and like when your heart and soul is into something and then you're getting this feedback, this raw feedback. What is your vision for this app in the future, and where do you kind of see it going, if you can even predict that?
So yeah, your last sentence is very interesting. If you can predict that, I can't. Where I'd like it to be, essentially, I'd like it to be big. I'm not gonna lie. I'd love to have 1 million active users and have people matching. Like, there's two aspects of it. So the personal standpoint, and the reason why we made the app is so we could match people and hope to create couples. We've created a few couples already, which is awesome. We've had feedbacks. We've had amazing feedback. Like we've received one message, but I still remember, which was awesome, saying like, I met someone amazing on the app and we're getting a couple. That was literally the first couple we created, and that was awesome. Like the app was literally existing for like 6 months, and I thought it would come a lot like down the line, but like it actually happened, which was great. So like from a project standpoint, I'd love to be able to create something where we know we have, as you said, a formula that can create couples. Actually, it's sure, but like not every match is going to create a couple, but you know that every user has a chance, essentially. And from a business standpoint, personally, I'd love to have employees, essentially. At the moment, we're literally 2 guys creating this app and trying to make it scale. My dream would be to literally have like, I don't know, 10 employees and have my own office and make it scale and be able to work on my own things, essentially, and be able to work on this app and be full-time on it and be heart and soul into it, and knowing that you have something to lose, if it makes sense. Because at the moment, we're still in the phase where it's easy, in the sense that creating the app is something I know. I'm a web developer, my co-founder is as well. Having designs is the same. Being able to speak with other people is also easy for now, because at the moment we're speaking with a close circle or amazing people like yourself who contact us essentially, or who we contact in order to get involved. And we always get users thanks to this, and it's amazing. But down the line, my dream would be, to have a self-sustaining company and something that can scale, and something where you feel you're building something great, essentially. And you know you're helping people. Of course, you're making money out of it and you make people pay for it, but they pay for it because it's a service that makes sense. And it's where I'd love to be able to create a business model. And that would be my one wish, it's to change and be able to create a business model that's not based on frustration, not entirely, essentially, because somehow you'll always be based on frustration, but not frustration in the sense of crushing people's confidences, more in the sense of saying, oh, if I pay, I know that essentially I'll get matches that are more maybe relevant, and I know that like my chances will be better. But it's not saying if I pay, I'll get a chance. It's more saying you already have a chance on it. We already give you the tool so that the app works for you. It's just paying will probably have, I don't know, in the future, maybe more filters, more ways of like finding people that correspond to you maybe a bit better. It's just making the experience better. And if we could create this, that would be awesome. Like from a personal standpoint, making money out of something that people like to pay for, rather than they pay for it because otherwise they feel terrible about themselves. I would prefer that.
That's what's so cool about being in the industry of love and dating and singles, is that people want this. People want that, that more down to earth, personal type of service. And I think it's amazing what you're doing. Can you tell everybody where they can find you and how they can follow your journey, and when the heck you're coming to Halifax? Or the
sure.
app, anyhow.
Sure. If we talk about the app purely, it's very simple. The website is peel.dating. So peel is Peel dot dating.
Mhm.
Dot dating is the equivalent of the .com. I get this asked a lot. A lot of people
I
think
know,
it's dot
I
dating
asked
dot
you
com.
that. I was like, you didn't give me the full email. And
I
you're
get
like,
it a
no,
lot.
that's
I get it a lot. No, it's the actual full website. Yeah, and on it you'll find basically a link just to download the app. It's available on both Android and iOS. It's completely free for now. We don't sell your data, just to make this clear. Our goal in the future is basically to make money with it. So like, not to scare people, is essentially we're not selling any data to anyone. What we do right now is we have a free version where we learn from it, and later on you'll be proposed premium features. So don't be scared if you realize that the app is fully free and there's nothing to pay for. It's not that we sell your data, it's literally that we're still in the phase of discovering who we are and what we build, and then later on we'll be able to charge money for it. And then our travel, like our journey, we'll probably have a blog soon. We're thinking about it. Not so personal, like the goal, and my goal is not to put myself, so I'm technically the CEO of the company and my co-founder is the CTO. We don't want it to be a company about just two guys. As I said, our goal is to later on like hire people and make it a bit bigger. And I'd love to be able to talk about it as a company and make a blog about it and make a blog about how we scale, about how we do these things. But for now, essentially what you can find is on Medium. We do have a few articles. There's not many of them, but essentially just follow the website and I think there'll be a blog very, very soon.
cool. I love it. And I'm really excited for you guys. I'm going to be following your journey, and I am going to be like cheering you on. And if there's any kind of clients out there that want to give it a go, you guys, like I recommend going and signing up and downloading the app. And I know he loves getting feedback, so we could even give him a little bit of help there. I think that's great. So just to finish off, based on your experience, please close out the episode by giving all of the singles out there either encouragement or that one piece of advice that you wish you knew earlier on, or you are putting to full effort now.
All right, so I'll speak as a male dating on apps.
Please do.
So I'm still, by the way, so I'm single, not putting it out there to date, but just saying I'm basically still using dating apps, my own for sure. For a guy, like I've had much more success being myself. Like it sounds maybe a bit corny, but as I said before, I had a profile that was meant to show off. Like now I don't at all. Like basically, if you saw my profile, I would see it's very like not basic, but it's essentially I have normal photos of myself, but then I'll have a few photos of me with friends and then doing some fun things. And my prompts will be something I feel is actually interesting. I'm not just going to talk about what I traveled, but maybe talked about a few things that I've gone through, or maybe like not as in like the hard things I've gone through in life, but just a few experiences that I've had, and like talk about a few funny things. And I've realized that the more natural I was and the less I was trying to play someone else, the more I had basically great dates. Like I've had great dates in the last few months, and it was amazing to realize that actually if I didn't pretend to be someone I wasn't, I would actually meet people that made sense to me. And when you think about it, it's obvious, but we all try, I think, to follow this Instagram phenomenon of having the best profile possible and just having someone that doesn't look like us. I've realized that actually you get more successful when you just stay yourself and remain yourself and have a profile that reflects who you are. And when you speak with people, just speak as the person you are. If it doesn't work, it doesn't work. It's fine to be rejected. It's fine to, not be accepted. And it's fine to not always match with someone. You don't have to pretend to be someone just because you like the way she looks or he looks. Just be yourself. If it doesn't match, it's fine. There's tons of people out there, and you always have the opportunity to find someone who basically corresponds to you.
You know what? I've asked that question to a lot of guests, and I don't think anybody's actually ever said that as the advice. Ooh. So thank you for sharing that. Yeah.
No worries.
Well, thank you so much, and you stay safe and healthy out in Montreal, and we'll keep an eye out for you here, okay?
Yeah, thank you very much, Jean-eva. That was awesome. Thank you.
All right.
Have a good one. Bye.
Bye. That was so good.
Yeah, that was awesome. Thank you very much. I loved it.
No, thank you for coming on. That was so good. I'm so excited for you.
I can see you've done this for a while. You're very, very good at it.
Oh, thank you. Well, I'm like you. I can talk to anybody about anything. So this is going to be what episode is this going to be, Mark? I think it's going to be like 47. So yeah, not my first rodeo, but.
Yeah, I can see that.
Yeah. So that's so cool.
Cool. What
If
did you
there's
think of it?
anything I can do to help, I'm like a big cheerleader for what you're doing and the concept that you have. So if there's anything that I can do to help, if there's any people that I can send your way or anything, I'm like here to do your
Okay.
thing because I
Yeah, I
really
might.
want you guys to
Thank you very
succeed.
much. I might take your word on that. I mean, at the moment, as I said, we're in a phase where we're basically trying the product. So we're not marketing it too hard. One great thing I think about dating apps is that there's new apps that get created every day. But if you
Mhm.
market it in a different way and if you show, I think we're succeeding in showing that we want to be different. Like we don't specially, we say we're different, but everyone can say that. And I think we're right at showing it, as in like
Mhm.
in the features we have, in the way we communicate. So like what I'm trying to say is basically we're able to have users at the moment, like it's all right. But yeah, no, I might take your word. I'm more interested in like your matchmaker profile. I think it's
Mhm.
super interesting. It's something that I really don't know, to be completely honest with you.
Yeah.
And as I said, like the algorithm for us and being able to find ways to match people better and have better matches is like, yeah, the bread and butter for us. So
Yeah,
I might contact you on this.
yeah, I've been matchmaking for people for 3 years now. I'm not like there's a matchmakers out there that's been 15, 20 years and they can meet somebody and be like, you're perfect for this person. But I
Fair
do
enough.
know what works and I do know what
Okay.
doesn't work. And sometimes I'm still surprised. And again, I don't know if we can like collaborate that into a formula, but it's still some knowledge that would be cool to share
That would
for
be,
sure.
yeah, that would be awesome. I might, honestly, yeah, I might contact you soon just for this. Same on
Yeah.
your side. If I can help with anything, if you want, we can talk a bit about the podcast. We have like, I think only 100 followers on our Instagram. We haven't marketed it, but I'm still happy to talk about it. And if I can do anything, just please reach out.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. Well, thank you so much for sharing your knowledge and kick butt.
Cool. Thank you very much.
Okay.
Bye.
Bye
Bye.
bye.